Si no quiere añadir nada más sobre este tema, pasamos a otro, que básicamente queríamos saber cuáles son las principales aportaciones de la terapia de aceptación y compromiso de ACT al enfoque conductual.
Did you want to add something related to that? Otherwise, we are going to ask a different question. So what are the main contributions of acceptance and commitment therapy to the behavioral approach?
Acceptance and commitment therapy, or when it's outside psychotherapy, acceptance and commitment training. In either case, we can call it ACT, allows an extension of applied behavior analysis beyond direct contingency principles into issues having to do with cognition, emotion, sense of self, perspective taking, motivation that's influenced by language, attention, and all of that then also touching on overt behavior. So in the past, when we confronted issues that were deeply emotional or spiritual or cognitive, we'd either have to force these issues into a poor fitting suit of direct contingency analysis only, or we'd begin to speak and think mentalistically and lose the leverage that behavioral thinking gives us. But mentalism is not defined by the words you use. This journey to RFT begins with a paper in 1984 called Making Sense of Spirituality. And it's a place where the contextual behavioral science tradition breaks with a wing of behavioral thinking that says, oh no, we can't talk about that. That's mentalism. If you say mind, oh no. If you say soul, you say spirit, oh no. If you believe that language is behavior, this is like saying, we're not going to look at that behavior. Oh, that will make us safe as long as we prohibit the bad words, which to me is scientific nonsense. Spirituality, emotion, cognition are ways of speaking about human phenomena that are real in the naturalistic world. And yes, I want a natural science of behavior, but I want behavior to include all of the actions of an organism interacting in and with a context considered historically and situationally. So ACT gives us a way of diving into the deepest human issues, but without mentalism. And I'll explain what that is in the next part of this answer.
La ACT nos permite expandir el análisis de la conducta aplicado y lo expande a otros elementos como la cognición, las emociones, la toma de perspectiva, la atención. En el pasado, cuando hablábamos de cosas emocionales, de espiritualidad, teníamos una perspectiva muy forzada. De hecho, nos centrábamos en un análisis sesgado. Se pensaba en el habla o en el pensamiento de forma mentalística. Sin embargo, el mentalismo no se define utilizando palabras. En 1984 empezó el viaje de la ACT con la publicación de un ensayo muy importante que rompió con la tradición. De hecho, en el pasado para mí no tenía ningún sentido cómo actuaban, porque la espiritualidad, la cognición, la emoción no se consideraban maneras de hablar de fenómenos humanos, que son lo que son de verdad. Hablan de fenómenos humanos que existen en el mundo real, con lo cual yo aboco por una ciencia natural de la conducta que tomen en cuenta todos estos aspectos. Para mí la conducta comprende todas las acciones del organismo, incluyendo también el contexto histórico y social en el que se encuentra. Y la ACT nos brinda muchas herramientas para encarar estas cuestiones de una forma que se aleja del mentalismo.
The error of mentalism is to take one action of the organism and treat it as causal over another action of the organism without understanding the context of either of these actions and the context in which this action relates to that action. You have to keep track of three things, and that last one is always missed with mentalism. And yes, talking about private events makes it easy to make that error. But you could make the same error using only public events. If you listen to what sports figures say when they are asked to explain their amazing performance, you will often hear nonsense. Oh, I felt so confident. Or I was so completely calm that I was able, etc. No. Confidence is a behavior. It includes many features. It's still an action of the organism. And why would confidence emerge? And why would it relate to kicking a ball or throwing it down the field? That needs to be analyzed. And that's missed. You say, oh no, it's confidence. And then next thing you know, we're telling poor children who don't know how to play sports well, be confident, thinking it will help them kick the ball, which is total nonsense. But the same error could happen with overt behavior. And we don't avoid the error by saying, oh, never talk about confidence, that's mental. Or never talk about thinking, that's mental. Now, this is that stupid idea that we can be more precise by being more limited. No, our precision needs to be in the complexity we're trying to understand. And so you would never say, oh, the reason the person kicked the ball well is that they're a wonderful basketball player and they shoot the ball well. If you did, it's the same error. And occasionally people do make this error. The language of behavior makes it less likely. So my solution is, let's bring the language of behavior as a technical matter into these private event areas and not make the mentalistic error. And that's exactly what ACT does. That's the journey we've been on for 40 years. And that's why these principles of psychological flexibility have so much application and can be used in so many different situations, but with precision.
El error del mentalismo consiste en un análisis de una única acción acometida por un organismo que se considera la causa de otra sin comprenderla en su contexto. Sin embargo, el análisis no tendría que funcionar así. Por lo que atañe a los eventos privados, es más fácil acometer este error. Sin embargo, se puede aplicar también a otros contextos. Por poner un ejemplo, pensemos en el deporte. Si una persona siente confianza, se siente tranquila, puede pensar que todo va a salir bien. Sin embargo, la confianza es una conducta, es una acción del organismo, pero ¿por qué se desarrolla la confianza? Está relacionada la confianza a lanzar bien una pelota. Pues si uno tiene confianza, esto no significa que le ayude para nada a lanzar bien una pelota. Y ahí radica el error del pensamiento. Y no podemos decir que una persona va a golpear bien una pelota porque es un jugador muy bueno. Y si lo pensamos, este también es un error. Con lo cual mi solución para evitar este error es que empleemos el lenguaje de la conducta en los contextos de los eventos privados y evitemos el mentalismo. Y la ACT lo hace muy bien y lo ha estado haciendo durante 40 años. Es por esto que el concepto de flexibilidad psicológica cuenta con muchas aplicaciones y se puede utilizar en varios contextos diferentes.
Let me give an example. So if you were to see a beautiful sunset tonight, you would know to observe, describe, and appreciate. You would not criticize, evaluate, and judge. You would say, "Ah, look, how beautiful." You might say, "Ah, how pink." You're not going to say, "Oh God, that cloud is the wrong shape. It would be much more beautiful if it was like this." Nobody would think that. But if you look at your next hour of what you do, your verbal system will analyze and categorize and say, "Oh, you asked that question incorrectly. You should have said this." That's fine sometimes. But can we take this repertoire you already have and bring it over to these moments when you need them? For example, a person who has been abused and is suffering with difficult emotions, they need some of that. Oh, how painful. How sad. How wrong. And to be able to stop and put a period there on the end of that sentence and not say the next thing, like you might say to God about the sunset. Oh, I should have had this happen, and I should have done that, and they should have done this. I can never go back. I'll never be whole. I'll be broken the rest of my life. Problem solving and mindful observation are in your repertoire. You can do this, but you need context to bring that in to this different moment. Diffusion methods do that in ACT. They allow us to back up and notice what the problem-solving repertoire is tempting us to do. And we can respectfully decline that and do what we know how to do when observing a sunset or when listening to the tears of a wounded child. We know that's not the moment where problem solving is needed. That's the moment where listening, observing, describing, appreciating is needed. So ACT is about taking skills you already have, building them, and creating contextual cues to put them into a situation that changes the behavior relationships that are leading to problems. Sorry for such a long answer.
Sí, vamos a poner un ejemplo. Pensemos que estamos viendo un ocaso muy bonito. Podríamos describirlo, apreciarlo. No nos pondríamos a criticarlo, a juzgarlo o a evaluarlo. Podríamos pensar qué bonito está o qué color más rosado, pero no diríamos nunca esta nube tiene una forma muy rara o muy fea. Sin embargo, si pensamos en las acciones que podríamos acometer durante esta hora y el comentario que podríamos hacer después, podríamos pensar de forma diferente. Nuestro sistema verbal analizaría, categorizaría, quizás hubiese podido pensar, tenía que plantear la pregunta de otra forma o responder de otra forma. Para poner otro ejemplo, una persona que ha sido abusada y sufre porque tiene emociones muy negativas, puede tener recuerdos y puede pronunciar frases como qué dolor siento, qué triste fue, qué feo fue. Y esto de cierta manera puede ser útil para ponerle un punto y final y para cerrar este discurso. Sin embargo, en otros contextos no tiene ningún sentido. Hay contextos en los cuales hay que actuar con el solucionamiento de problemas y con la observación consciente de las cosas. Y se puede hacer, nos podemos centrar en el contexto. Y la ACT nos brinda muchas herramientas, entre otras la difusión, que nos permite tomar distancia, notar lo que está haciendo nuestra mente y luego decidir en el momento. A veces es preciso describir, escuchar, y la ACT no hace sino ayudarnos a construir herramientas con las cuales ya contamos y nos ayuda a ponerlas en situación y poco a poco a cambiar nuestras conductas que en un futuro nos podrían conllevar problemas.